Hello guys and welcome back to another video. We survived NBA Sunday without losing money and now we have a 9-game slate today and I'll be sharing 3 official bets, so stay tuned. We had 2 bets yesterday. Amen Thompson was a winner and Sadiq Bey was a loser. Sadiq Bey didn't close the game, he sit out last 8 minutes of the game and ended up at 11. One field goal made away from covering and losing the minutes unexpectedly in my opinion, so kind of rough way to lose, but we had such a great week. We are up 18.7 units so far on the show with insane 32% ROI. My first bet is coming from Bucks against the Hawks, and we are going to bet Giannis Antetokounmpo over 29.5 points, wildly available at minus 118, and you can find even better prices out there. When you look at the graph, we can see a ton of games where he played kind of low minutes, kind of blowouts, injuries and stuff. But if we exclude all those rubbish games, and when I look at the games when he plays expected minutes, 26 to 36, even if you do a bit adjustment there, like 28 to 38 minutes, we can see that Giannis Antetokounmpo is averaging 32 points a game in 32 minutes. So he's basically averaging points per minute. Bucks are in a tough spot. They are losing games. The playoffs are going away from them. They need Giannis to be locked in and to produce. So the matchup is actually a really good one. As we can see, he scores 80% of his points at the rim. Hawks allow 5th most rim points. He scores a ton of as a pick and roll rollman, post ups, free throws, transition. Hawks are either average or bottom of the league in those play types. One of the most important part of this bet is actually the pace. We can see that Hawks play a second highest pace in the entire league, and we know that Giannis thrives in run and gun types of games. He's unstoppable in transition. So honestly, this bet is mostly like, okay, they are poor rim protection, they are running at a high pace. Giannis will be very aggressive. Like, it's a kind of ball knowledge bet. Like, I expect Giannis to be very, very aggressive in this game environment. Works for him. He should be playing big minutes. He's scoring point per minute, and I expect him to play 35 plus minutes. So definitely expecting Giannis to score 30 plus points in this game. This line kind of dropped because, as I said, Spurs were tough matchup. He still ended up scoring 21 points in 22 minutes. Then big blowout against the Wolves. He still ended up being close to covering. Then Lakers double teaming him, and then other games he covered 33 points, 30 points, 37 points, and even though he was kind of small minutes restriction in those games. So first bet, Giannis Antetokounmpo over 29.5 points. For second bet, we are going to Joel Embiid against the Pacers. We can see that Joel Embiid, as the season went, his performances improved. We can see that he was under these lines, like first 9 out of 10 games on the graph, and then if you take a look at like last, I would say like 13 games since December of 13, he's averaging 28 points a game. He's replaying really well. You can see that the games that he stayed under, kind of blowout against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Next game, it wasn't a blowout, so he scored 33 points. Usage has been going up, efficiency is going up, his minutes played are going up. So if he's getting like 35 minutes tonight, he should be able to cover. One of the biggest reasons I'm betting this is if you take a look at the head-to-head games against the Pacers over the last 2 seasons, we can see that he scored 37, 39, 31, and 39 points. So he's averaging 36.5 points against the Pacers over the last couple of seasons. And yeah, the thing is, the coach is the same, Carlisle, and he kind of lets him play one-on-one and take jumpers. He doesn't like to he doesn't like to double team Embiid. Like, he will definitely do some doubles, but he will mix stuff up. He will let him shoot. You can see that he's scoring most of his points at the rim. They are horrible at defending rim. He's scoring second most of his points in the mid-range. They allow second most there. We can see that Pacers don't allow threes. They don't allow spot up shots, which means they are not not doing double teams on players. So Embiid should be in a great spot once again. Last time they played, it was like A month ago, he ended up scoring 39 points in 32 minutes. We can see that usage was absolutely through the roof in that game. We can see that he had big 46.6% usage, but in every game against the Pacers, or in all of 4 of these games, he had 35 or higher usage. If I take a look at Embiid when he has that kind of usage, let's look last couple of years when he has usage 32% or higher, we can see that with 30 to 38 minutes, he's averaging 33.6 points a game when he gets that kind of usage. Even if you go to like 33 to like 43, like he's still averaging 32 points a game. So unbelievable matchup, good defensive scheme against him, a historical covering against the same scheme, and in a great spot tonight. So definitely betting on Embiid. He's questionable. He could see this one out, but if he is going to play, I think we have a great spot for Joel Embiid against the Pacers. And let's now dive into the third official bet, and that's gonna be James Harden against the Wizards without Kawhi Leonard. Like this team without Leonard, they don't have any offensive power. It's all down to James Harden cooking. And let's first start with games without Kawhi Leonard. So, in 10 games without Kawhi Leonard this season, he covered this in 6 out of 10 games, averaging 32 points a game. And we take a look at last couple of games. Obviously, Thunder, very difficult matchup, even though Kawhi Leonard was out. And also, it was a blowout. Then, Suns, the thing about Suns, they usually double team opposing best players. So when I'm looking at this, I'll exclude first 2 games because that's not even close to the matchup he's getting tonight. Wizards usually don't tend to double players, so could be in a great spot. If you take a look at the last 8 games without Kawhi, we can see he's averaging 35 points a game. Massive usage, 22 field goal attempts per game, and usage up to 34.5%. But looking at the last 5 games without Kawhi Leonard, we can see that his usage is up to 37% and 23 field goal attempts, covering this in 4 out of 5 games, averaging 36 points. We can see that last game against Raptors, they played 2 days ago, without Kawhi Leonard, he ended up taking 27 field goal attempts and 10 free throws. Similar stuff against the Hornets. Similar stuff against the Orlando Magic, even though this one was a huge blowout. So he didn't even play in the 4th quarter and still ended up covering against much better defensive team. Then against the 76ers, 7 from 25, and he was 1 point short. So he had one of the worst shooting nights of his career and still was 1 point short from covering, but also 76ers much better defense than he's facing tonight. Then against the Boston Celtics, great defensive team, he still covered by 37 points. He easily covered, even though he shot his average numbers in that game. So if we take a look at all the games over the last 3 seasons, when James Harden gets 32 plus minutes, 32 to 42 without Kawhi, he won't be getting much rest tonight. He'll be playing 40 minutes. And with those minutes, and when his usage is at least 30%, like it was in the games without Kawhi Leonard, we can see that his average goes to 29.3. So if we take a look at when he's playing teams who are outside top 10 in defensive rating, his numbers go up. When he's playing favorable matchups, his hit rate goes even higher. But even with that kind of usage, we can see field goal attempted are still below the numbers he had this season without Kawhi Leonard. So also they played a couple of days ago and he played them with Kawhi Leonard in the lineup. So Kawhi was playing in that game. He still ended up with 10 free throws, 70 field goal attempts. He had horrible shooting night, 5 from 17 and scored 22 points. Now no Kawhi, his usage will go up a ton and hopefully he can make some shots tonight. We can see that looking at the matchup, they allow above average to the pick and roll ball handlers. They allow ton of transition, ton of spot up, ton of handoffs, ton of free throws, which is something I expect a ton from him tonight. And we can see similar player Jamal Murray just posted 42 points. We had uh, Edwards with 35 points. We had Booker going 8 from 23, but the most important one is he got the volume. LaMelo Ball covered his line, De'Aaron Fox covered his line. So similar players by position covered in 11 out of the last 15. But that's because Wizards are horrible defense. They are second worst defense in the league, and they also allow a ton of rim points and above the break 3 points where Harden scores most of his points, and then additionally he scores a lot of points on the free throw line, and you can see that they allow a ton of free throw. So matchup is perfect, environment is perfect, because when you look at this team, without Kawhi Leonard, without Bradley Beal, without Bogdan Bogdanovic, there is no offensive firepower. Like it's James Harden, Zubac, Collins, Chris Dunn, Sanders, Miller, Batum. Those guys are just catch and shoot guys most of the time, or like just finishing easy plays. So Harden will need to figure out how to score in order for them to make buckets. So third official bet, James Harden over 28.5 points, widely available minus 110 to minus 114. Great spot. And now let's dive into the game stuff. Like for example, Jalen Johnson kind of looks like the line dropped too much, but then we look at the last 3 games, he was horrible. So since CJ McCollum arrived, he kind of lost the touch, but we can see that similar players are cooking against the Bucks, so he could be in a great spot tonight to bounce back from these poor games. There are also 20.5 available. I think if you have 20.5, you need to take it and look for a bounce back spot for Jalen Johnson. We already have a bet on that game, that's Giannis. Ryan Rollins could be in a good spot, but also that should be a huge buy low for Rollins in this game. Next game, OKC against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Don't have much on that game. I can't predict what it will be. Could be a blowout win, could be a close game. Thunder have the best defense in the league, so not betting overs for Cavaliers probably a good thing. But some numbers dropped a ton, like Evan Mobley backed down to the 15.5 points, and there is no Garland and Merrill. He should have a higher usage in tonight's game, so could be a spot like for Evan Mobley because he dropped too low. But on the other side, Aaron Wiggins could be in a good spot tonight without J-Dub. He's averaging 14 points this season. And this matchup is kind of good for him when he's playing 22 to 32 minutes. He's averaging 13.7 points. Matchup is very good. They allow a ton of spot ups. So that could be a lean for Aaron Wiggins. I already covered this one. Jazz against the Spurs. I expect this to be a heavy blowout. They're playing Jazz that resting all the best players. They are starting tanking in January, which is absolutely insane. But if it's a blowout, could be an extended run for guys like Dylan Harper. If he is getting like 18 plus minutes, he's averaging 11.6 points. Assist kind of not a great hit rate, but last time he played against the Jazz, he had career high 12 assists and 18 potential assists. So very interesting spot for Dylan Harper. But other than that, Cavs don't have many spots on for this game. Similar stuff Mouse against the Knicks. All depends on Cooper Flag and Jalen Brunson playing. Max Christie threes in this game. We have a plus money for this. And he's playing his expected minutes. You can see the matchup is actually great. They allow a ton of catch and shoot. They allow a ton of above the break threes. We can see that Moody, Alexander Walker covered. When you look at the entire season, Max Christie over in 63% of the games, averaging 2.7 threes. If we adjust for catch and shoot positive matchups, we can see that he covered then in 73% of the games, so that could be also another good spot. But if Flag is out and Brunson is playing, yeah, could be an easy blowout. 76ers covered that one. Celtics and Pistons could be a decent spot for Tobias Harris. Maybe take over 18.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and he's playing his expected minutes like 24 to 34. He's killing this line. He covered against Boston Celtics think every game so far this season. Let me just check. So yeah, he played three games against the Boston Celtics. He covered this. In all three, averaging 24 points, rebounds, and assists in 31 minutes. I can see him playing 30 minutes tonight. So yeah, could be another great spot. We already have 3 official bets. On the other side, Pritchard questionable. He was horrible last couple of games. We have a big spot for Jaylen Brown, who killed this line against the Pistons. They play single coverage, so you can see that 25 field goal attempts, 32 field goal attempts, 25 field goal attempts. So he's averaging 27 field goal attempts against the Pistons this season, averaging 36 points, now getting 29.5 line with potential of Peyton Pritchard being out. So that could be another great spot, even though the matchup looks tough. But as I said, they let him play single coverage, so he's forcing a ton of stuff. So could be another great spot for Jaylen Brown. Norman Powell line went back to 23.5 without Tyler Hero. Bam Adebayo, after some games where he had 14.5 line, now it's 18.5. He bounced back greatly last couple of games, usage up a ton, but against Golden State Warriors, against Draymond Green, can't bet on that one. So on the other side, we have Draymond Green probable. I think he's playing, but now his assists are, after we took it, if you can get better than minus 127, could be great spot in this high-paced matchup for Draymond Green, but I'm not. This is not widely available, so I'm not taking it. Main reason for it. So yeah, this slate not the best one for betting. I would say usually when I have 9-game slates, I will end up with 10 plus bets today. I only have 3, couple of leans, a couple of spots to monitor after we get some injury news. So hope you guys enjoyed it and see you into the next one.